One of my friends has this great term, hidden work. So I'm gonna wake up every morning and I'm gonna have a smoothie. Great. Well, the hidden work is you have to get all the smoothie stuff.
Right.
And you have to have it ready to go. And you have to make sure your blender is actually the grade of blender that you need to blend all that stuff into your desired smoothie.
Right.
And then you need to know how much time it takes, and you have to measure everything out and have to create a new routine. And so it's actually a 17-step process to do step 18, which is drink your smoothie.
Right.
And
People don't talk about the hidden work as much.
They don't?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. No, well, that's really most of the work.
It's life. It's the hidden work. Oh, I have to eat again.
New decisions.
I forgot to grocery shop.
Damn it.
And my knife isn't sharp.
Up on me every time.
Yeah.
Right, and my knife isn't sharp.
Yeah.
My roommate didn't clean the dishes, and now I have to do the dishes and then do the food.
People are fascinating, especially up close. More especially when you get them talking about the things that they love. This is From the Hip, conversations in the service of passion, purpose, and play. I'm Adrianne Gunn. You ready to play? Today on From the Hip, I am chatting with my friend Josh Sabraw, the head coach, or Coach Josh, and owner of Training for Warriors PDX. He and I chat goal setting, motivation, and leadership. So, hey, come cop a squat with us. Although, that might not mean what I think it means.
Here's your goal. You set your goal in the future, and then you're here, and then there's this gap, and you like set your goal, and you're like, okay, how am I going to feel when I achieve that? Okay, and you take on those feelings now so that it makes it easier to get there. But then there's this beautiful, truthful, confusing. Lots of things are paradoxical, right?
Sure. Yeah,
confusing
absolutely.
things like set the goal and then
forget about it.
Let go of how.
Yeah.
But no one talks about how to actually do that.
Yeah.
What the fuck that means.
We talked about that. That was the beginning. That was a launching off point today, and it's tough. And I've swiped at that like 3 times, trying to capture the expression of that. And it's Gary Vaynerchuk says it really well. He's like, "What's your North Star? You know, the clouds are like the dream. Like, you know, you always know where the North Star is. You can always see it, and then forget about it and just get lost in the dirt." And if you're living or dying by whether or not you are closer to your goal or not, there's going to be a ton of up and down stuff. And then like, you are only happy if your last at bat was good.
Right.
And like, so if you're in business, you know, I made, 7 cold calls, scheduled 5 appointments, good day. Like, I made 10 calls, no one answered, bad day. Like, like you're in pain, you're suffering, and it's up to the outcome. And the outcome you don't control.
Right.
Like whenever you're depending your current state on the outcome, can you depend your current state on the input, which is not the same. It's not the same as like letting go about the how, right? Part of the how like makes you happy. If you selected the right thing, if you wanted to be a farmer, you don't just like farming when the grain's grown. You like farming when you're digging the hole, and then you're sowing the seeds, and then you're tilling the earth. And you like all of that too. If you selected if you're in the right place in your life.
That makes sense.
We'll see. I mean, kind of.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And I love that you're like, I swiped at that. I'm swinging at the story of the how to do the let go of the how. I think that might be the challenge for most of us. Is that's where the fucking juice is. That's where the turning point of success probably is. In that like, set the goal, let it go. And no one's that great at describing or modeling what that letting go. Maybe there are people that are great at the letting go part, but they're usually not the ones putting videos out in the world.
Brene Brown is the one that has had books on this, right? Where she was talking about how if you are a perfectionist, you don't create a lot because it's not perfect when you first create it, and then you can't let it go. And like most of us, I think the process is set the goal. I'm gonna love being a personal trainer. Everybody's gonna be in great shape. All my clients are gonna be compliant. Every day is gonna be a good day. It's high fives and PRs. And then you get into real life and your client no-shows and your next client has a back problem. Now your whole program can't be done. And then you have to, make this adjustment, and that you have to meet people where they are. And by the end of the week, you are further. You're actually farther away than when you started.
Right.
And if you're zen and compassionate with yourself, you are able to let go of your expectations, and then you go back to, and you can enjoy the process. But you first had to like fail and stumble and like skin the knees and get cut. Because the worst thing that could happen is everything actually goes exactly the way you plan it, and then you think that's how life's going to be.
Right.
And then you're fragile to the imperfections of the process.
No resiliency there.
No resiliency.
I think your hand is sort of opening. Is this true? Is this?
That was from last night.
Okay.
It's
good.
I
was like, is that blood?
There's no
I'm
blood.
okay. Go with it. This blood makes it better. More
Right,
intense.
exactly. It's more real. So this is a real interview.
Resiliency and agility were, I think, still some of my goals of like how to be doing life.
Yeah.
Like improving my agility, improving resiliency.
You
Like
seem like you're doing that. The
Thank you.
agile part, at
Yeah.
least. I'm not in your inner workings and the resiliency, but I mean, and actually the inner workings are supposed to be messy. So the outer workings look good too. So there you go.
Yeah, essentially, if you like cut us open, it's like, oh, that is. Who would figure to put that there? That's all wobbly and wiggly and off balance.
Well, who was one of the attendees to our clinic today was a trainer, and she's like, oh, so you got this like, whenever you go from being a trainer to a business owner, everybody's like all your trainer friends just like shut up, and they're like, is this really going to happen? Because this is where everyone quits, when they're trying to actually make a business out of it, and they're like watching me, and then every time I talk to one of my trainer friends, they're always like, oh, how's the business thing going? They're too positive to say like, it's not working, is it? Like they're too rah-rah, but they're waiting for me to like show cracks. And there's lots of cracks, by the way.
Yeah.
Like that's life, right?
Yeah.
But it's funny because like so whenever I say like, I was like, listen, like I'm moving forward, but I still have that thing, and every Monday I'm like, fuck, should I be doing this?
Right.
Like, does this make sense to me? Like, I'm 33 years old, and I really bet the farm on this thing kind of coming to fruition.
Yeah.
And it's like, I love it, but it's, if you love it more than you hate it, you're winning, and that's I come back to. And the hating it part is like that failing, expectations not met, realizing that I need to develop a skill set that I wanted to believe that I had that I actually don't.
Right, yeah. The humility of realizing, oops, I don't know how to do this really important thing I need.
Yeah, or even worse, or maybe better, depending on how you're framing it, right?
Right.
Maybe better is, I thought I was really good at that. My thing was like people. Like, oh, I'm really good with people. I've got empathy. I connect. I can read people. No, man. No, you're missing it. And it's because the game is so much more subtle. Like when you become a black belt in jiu-jitsu, because like when you martial art metaphors are great because like you're talking about moves, right? But let's even use a simpler martial art, boxing. There's like 4 or 5 punches you can throw in boxing, right? So by the time you get 4 years in is like the benchmark that everybody references. When you've been training for 4 years, you now know there's 122 variables to every punch. So you actually have 1,000 moves, right? And so there's so much more to do. And so you go back and you're like, oh, I thought I was good at it because I knew 4 moves. And now there's more, I can get, that my jab can become more refined. And so it's like, no, maybe I can. Maybe I do understand when someone's angry. But like sometimes that anger's good and I need to learn when to harness it instead of making them feel heard, right? Sometimes you need to stoke the fire.
Totally. Or poke the bear.
Yeah, that's a good one.
In my world, that sort of, so we train on sensory acuity in the hypnosis and NLP, with like the awareness of people's emotional processes. And there are some techniques and some shifts that, whether you're just having a casual conversation, whether you're having a directed conversation with somebody, or whether you're specifically doing like a depth technique, like knowing when you're getting into someone's story, like the difference between, oh, they're in the story, so we're in content, and not how they do their problem, because that's something that NLP people, like, we want to shift how they're doing the problems. We don't care which problem they're talking about. We don't care about the story in some ways. But like knowing that like sometimes you want them to go into their problem,
Right. So
because they can associate to it and you can shift it.
Look
Sometimes
at the
you have to
machinery.
poke their bear and attack their strategy and be sort of, oh my gosh, what is that? There's a Castaneda reference. Pesky tyrant, I think it is. If you want to be somebody's pesky tyrant to agitate something so that they can shift and you're supporting their shifting. But I know someone who says if my client isn't ready to punch me, I might not be doing my best work.
Yeah, you got to jab them out of their safe place. You do. It's that's a cool, it's a cool idea. But what does that look like on the ground? So let's say I have a disempowering view about money. And you're like, you already know this, but you don't really care what my story is. You actually want to get me talking about it so that you can slide me out of it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So how would you frame it up? How would you tee me up to then kick me off the ledge?
Yeah, there's poking around enough to hear, and then probably just reflecting the disempowering beliefs that are beneath, and then just asking, get them fully associated. And it's anytime you've ever made money, has this state that you're in got you there? That kind of thing.
Okay.
People will get fully associated. They'll come up with a belief, and then when you repeat it, you can.
I've always been poor. I'm poor. Yeah, right. And you're like, oh, okay. And then you
either find a situation where they recognize that belief is the thing that's keeping them from getting money.
Okay.
Or you get them to recognize that it's the times when they did have money or they were able to make money easily, you're just setting up a point where they realize it's not true.
Yep.
They recognize it's not true, or they recognize that sometimes if you go super deep, the belief it's money doesn't grow on trees, or these other beliefs or something like that, you can actually get them associated to when they heard it, who they heard it from, or something even deeper that's I'm a bad person, I'll never have any, I don't even deserve money. Even below it that has it's so weird and ridiculous, the phrase will come out of someone's face and I'm a worthless person, or I'll never accomplish anything.
I don't deserve nice things.
I don't deserve nice things. And then
they say that out loud and they're like, that doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense, but then also you can hear them sort of choke on their emotions about it, and it's what?
Yeah.
Those moments, if you
okay.
can get beneath it, sometimes you can have a surfacey conversations. It's reframe, focus, or what beliefs are useful. And people, do you know anybody who's great at money? What do you think their beliefs are?
Well, so then therein lies detaching from the goal and going to the process. And if you think about the outcome you don't have control over is to get money. And then so if you want somebody to then how do you say, forget about the how, right? You say let's pretend it was impossible, but you still have to go through and do your job. So what's the one, getting to know, count up how many refusals you get, right?
Yeah.
So pretend that you can't get money now. Now there's no pressure,
right.
But you go back to the process and you still got to throw your pitches. You still got to do whatever it is. You still got to do your mobilities and get under the bar and do the squats. And maybe you don't hit a PR today. Maybe you don't even get to 90%. Maybe you don't get to 80%. But you still gotta work the squat because that's the process. And then lo and behold, when you take the pressure off, that's when they excel.
That's true.
There you go. So that's it. So I think that letting go of the North Star, or letting go of the how or everything, has everything to do with lowering the stakes, not raising them, because the stakes are so high. We're critical. But if you can say, okay, don't worry about winning. Let's say there's no winning in this one. The playing is all I want you to do, and then you can get on that state of play and
lower the bar.
It's gotta be specific to like what you're doing. As I don't think I could have that talk with somebody not in fitness.
Totally.
I think it takes like you're the expert at life stuff and replumbing people. So so you could. I mean, like you have. I think it's state or like moment to moment, like person to person.
Heck yeah.
So it's like, Adrianne, forget about your goals. Just forget about them. Don't worry about it. I want you to just pretend that they don't exist, and just know that you're going to be happy no matter what. Right. And
that's huge, though. The belief that you're going to be happy no matter what, or even like when you lower the bar, thinking about, okay, so these goals that you don't think you can accomplish, cool. Let's pretend that's true. But what are they? If you could, you know, you do that, like, let's say you can never accomplish that. Boom. That's one way to lower the bar. Or just say, let's say there wasn't anything you could do to not accomplish that.
All right.
You would, it's destined, you couldn't screw it up and you could. And when you've reached that place, what are you doing? How does your life feel? What are you doing? And sometimes it's like, oh, I'd wake up, I'd stretch, I'd eat breakfast, I'd have chai tea, I'd probably call one of my friends to connect with someone. Like, sometimes people can, like, when they're like, okay, so then you've got millions of dollars and you have a job you love, what are you up to? What is your day like? And when they really describe it, it's not really that different from the stuff they're up to now. They just think that they'll enjoy it more.
They just have faith, confidence, certainty, self-love, you know?
Oh, just those things.
Just those things.
No big
No,
deal.
but that's it. Like every book, it maps back to that. Like, you know, they just like, they're grateful for the moment. It's actually, you know, whether they live in the penthouse or the first floor, it was irrelevant, right?
Yeah.
But you know, I feel like that's the lesson that we're all constantly learning. I was just talking about letting go of my goal to deadlift 500 pounds. And as soon as I did, I like healed my back and lost a bunch of weight and then got a personal best. And it's like, but it's like because when you harness those things that are free, that are all around, self-love, gratitude, in a state of play and enjoy the moment, you know, increase your joy, things happen more easily. Shocker. And yeah, it's easier to win.
Yeah. I'm going to do a thing.
Okay.
I imagine we've been recording, right? I'm just guessing. So if you ever need to talk to a human person, they're in this camera. These are our friends.
Oh. Hi, humans.
And so here's a part where I'll introduce in the middle. I'm Adrianne Gunn, and I'm here with my friend.
Josh.
Josh, do you want to have a last name today?
Sabraw. It's French, I'm told.
Nice.
Yeah, you can't find that name. I don't know where it is.
It does it feel French to you when you say it?
Yeah, it's well, so my grandfather immigrated from Canada, and he always told me it was French. So that could be a total lie.
Yeah.
It feels French to me though.
Yeah.
Because of that story.
I'm going to take it on. It seems as French as things can get.
Thank you.
It's the most French thing that's happened in our conversation.
And that's probably that's the only French thing about me. I don't really like French food, French fries. French kissing's pretty good. Yeah.
Right?
And you know what?
Yeah.
I'm going to take it back. Jury's out on France. We're still working on that.
So I am curious. So you're a personal trainer and you own a beautiful business.
It certainly is attractive.
Yeah, it's super yellow in the places where it's yellow, and it's not where it's not. Training for Warriors?
Training for Warriors, yeah. What's that? So we do personal training, group fitness. Training for Warriors is a brand that one of my mentors started 20 years ago is what he would say, but a long time ago. And Martin Rooney has been working with fighters and athletes to make them more durable, stronger, faster, all those things. Mm-hmm. I got into it from that lens of injury prevention because my original job in fitness was working with soldiers who couldn't meet the Army standards for some reason. And I had to be self-taught on how to get them either off their injury or in shape. And this is back in like 2000. They just had to run fast and do push-ups, so it wasn't too difficult. But I was self-taught. Martin Rooney was one of those people I was reading about to borrow techniques from, and I was always trying to get either solve somebody's movement problem then, or just keep them from getting hurt in the first place. And I got attracted to him through that whole just don't hurt people.
Yeah.
And he's a great coach and mentor. And he had this program. I saw him speak in 2012, and he was putting this together for trainers to be part of a global network that already had my values or has my values. So it was an opportunity to sort of be associated with like-minded people, and it worked well with where I wanted to go. So it's like I could invent something on my own, but this is already there and it's great. It's better than probably what I would do. So, so yeah, that's always helps, right? It's borrow from geniuses.
I love that. Well, and a lot of the techniques that I have are borrowed from places, and the strategies of NLP are just modeling people who are successful. So just borrowing it and then taking it on yourself. Like the quit smoking strategy I use, I come up with fun ways of connecting to clients differently each time, but I still just follow this platform that I learned that was modeled on all the best quit smoking specialists. So when I'm doing that with people, I'm like, I just relax because I didn't have to invent it. I just show up, and some of the supports there, it makes things like way easy.
Totally. Modeling success. I mean, it's what learning is all about. And so it made it really easy for me. And they have they even help you with business coaching and business development. So they've got a really great business coach. Luca Hochevar is the kind of the mastermind behind it. Follow him online, Follow Luca's podcast. Listen to every word he says. He's a behavioral change genius.
Nice.
And he's a go-giver, so if you contact him, he'll follow up. So it's good.
Right on.
Yeah.
Can I talk about where I met you?
Please.
I want to interrupt it like on purpose.
Do it.
So, it feels like time is strange for me. Okay, I'm pretty sure today happens to be Saturday. I don't know what day it will be when people are listening or watching. But it feels very
future.
Saturday to me. But like,
Saturday.
I think 3 years ago-ish, I was on a kickball team.
Yes.
With a bunch of entrepreneurs.
Mm-hmm.
We sometimes, as a bunch of solo entrepreneurs, we sometimes get lonely. We're like dedicated
Very lonely.
to serving a path and going out in the world and doing stuff. So I was at a kickball team. And since we're also very busy people as entrepreneurs, we would often need subs to be on our kickball team. And this was a hilarious kickball team that like our motto was like blood, kill, fun. We would just like yell that at the top. And so Toku McCree brought you in as a guest, as sub, and like you ran us through warm-ups.
Animal warm-ups.
And it was like one of the most fun starts to kickball. And no one got hurt that day.
No injuries in a very injury-prone team. No injuries.
Yeah, no, so kickball's intense. No one knows this.
No one,
You have
broken
to, like,
bones, torn muscles, yeah.
A bunch of non-athletes, generally, showing up, not warming up correctly, doing explosive...
Off-season athletes.
Okay, that's very kind. They're not always sober. Mm-hmm. Varying degrees of sobriety in kickball. And the explosive movement that you have to use to kick, this ball probably shouldn't be kicked, by the way.
Yeah.
It is not designed to travel well with your foot.
No.
So like you're kicking something that's like too soft and gonna fight the air, a lot of resistance. And so a lot of people are like tearing their quads.
A lot of rec fems,
Sprained ankles. Like, my strategy for kickball is to warm up and stay warm the whole time. I don't understand how anybody does softball or baseball or any of that. I'm like, because you sit and you wait and then you have to sprint suddenly?
Yeah, it is a counterintuitively dangerous sport, and there isn't a process for that. Good for you for staying warm though. That's kind of the secret.
Yeah.
To get the blood flowing at all times and you're ready to go.
And I am definitely an athlete. I was a college tennis player and I played soccer and basketball in high school, like varsity. So I was super intense. Like everybody's playing and trying to have fun, but I was the one that was like, ah. And so your friend, our friend now,
Yes.
Toku, is one of the funniest people that I've ever met, and he's the worst pitcher, non-athlete person ever.
Yep.
And so I would be standing by and watching him.
Ever. Yeah, he's pretty, but he's motivated.
I had not met someone that was a worse pitcher in my life.
You had the courage to be the pitcher though, because you're out there and you're constantly, because like when you throw a bad pitch in baseball, like, you know, lots of people don't throw baseballs that well, but when you roll a ball like down to the home plate, like if you're a foot off, which is easy to be a foot off, you're like a bowling roll really.
Yeah.
Then everybody sees you kind of look stupid in front of a whole crowd, and Toku was good at that.
Yeah. He was one of the worst pitchers that you can like.
He was total confidence.
Well, and essentially, like it's actually kind of hard. It's difficult to be a bad pitcher in kickball because the ball can bounce. Like you've got a gate that you can hit, and he would miss that a lot, which is phenomenal. And I was actually surprised that he knew really incredible athletes. It was really an honor to have a moment of like being pumped up and coached by. And you just dropped in and said yes.
Yeah. That was a lot of fun. Yeah. Well, this is what it would look like if you took it seriously. Like this is what it would look like if you had a process to that, which is fun too because the cool thing about coaching at all is really just revving people's engines.
Yeah.
And keeping people from getting hurt and getting winning, and this is good too. But it's always fun because like you don't have any idea of the plan, and then you get to like do a bunch of spiders and tigers and animals and get all excited and fired up. So that's always a blast. I like to tell stories too.
Yeah.
And integrating that into it. But you also bear in mind that this was a very coachable team because everybody was like a go-getter, and it wasn't like it was. People wanted to be there. So, and wanted to win, and wanted to not get hurt because there was some serious injuries on that team.
Yes.
Our mutual friend.
We were open. We were like most of us in the sort of personal development fields.
Yeah.
Like a whole whole room or whole outdoor space full of like coaches that are coachable.
Right. Yeah. The speaking coach, that
Danielle?
was team captain. She broke her femur, right?
I thought she tore a quad muscle.
Okay. It was a long recovery time.
On the first, like she was the one, Danielle Louise Ross.
Yeah.
Or Luis Ross.
Luis.
I have to keep checking in with her to make sure I know it. So she formed the team, and I think it was on the first kick of the first ball in the first game. Or was it even during warm-up? Hard to say. We were like warm-up kicking. And
She was like, mentally going through the
she fell.
process, and then she fell down.
She's got an amazing story about that team and about that whole.
No, it's the speech. I was there for one of those events where she talked about the culmination speech for coming in last place. No, second to last place.
We like won the third. Like we won.
Oh.
We won something. No one expected that. We won maybe third place.
Yeah. What was
And my favorite part about that particular thing is it wasn't. I think it was a sub that showed up, who was probably the least skilled athlete, that kicked the winning run. It was one of those bad news bears, like who knows what the heck, Revenge of the Nerds moments, like where like, why did this work out?
Yep.
And I have no idea.
That's grace. That's just letting the universe help you out and being okay with that.
Yeah.
And being able to get that bronze trophy for your kickball league.
Bud Kilfine.
Your D League kickball tournament. Yes.
So have you always been sort of coachy personality, or
No.
was there something that like pulled you and drew you to this kind of work?
It was something that was thrust upon me for sure. So I was an introvert in high school. I didn't do any sports. I did cheerleading my final year.
I could see that.
Yeah. I started to become a little extroverted right at the end of high school, and then some girls came up and were like, "Hey, do you want to help us with this cheerleading thing?" I was like, "Yeah, girls, yeah, obviously." And then it sort of got me into being social. But I joined the Army right after that, and then I went to airborne school, and then it was like a switch. So right after basic training, it's like a literal, like it's everything is set up for like a true rite of passage, right? Because you kind of can't, you could quit, I guess, and go home, but like you have basic training where you go in and you look like a normal high school idiot, and you're just gonna stagger into this room, and then it's like an assembly line, and they stagger out the other side, and then you have a uniform on, and but you don't know what to do. You're certainly not a soldier, and they ferry you through basic training, and they beat you up and make you do a bunch of push-ups, but that you learn how to ruck and shoot and communicate and do Army stuff, and at the end of it, you're a soldier, and so you've got this sort of label attached to that event, so you get a little bit of an identity. And then right after that, I went to airborne school, so I'm like, okay, I'm a soldier now. It's really, boot camp is just cultural integration into the military. And then in airborne school, they pump you way up. So you come in, and there's like 900 people to start. Usually about 100 fall out, but these are big classes, and they're trying to qualify entire divisions of people to jump out of planes. So there's lots of soldiers, and they're getting. So you go through this 3-week process of indoctrination, but instead of like beating you down, they're pumping you up, and they're talking about. You're a part of the greatest, military unit in the greatest army that the world has ever seen. Like you're a paratrooper now. You have to swagger. They're just constantly, and the airborne instructors that are running it, they're like divas. They're just they have these like black hats. They're scary. They threaten you to murder you all the time. But there's no consequences. They kind of do whatever they want. They're not really in Army uniforms. So they're in Army uniforms, but they're not structured the same way that your drill instructors were. They're kind of like fun. And so like you're having this kind of like fun 3-week long initiation process. And then the last week they kind of march you into these cargo planes, and you jump out on this drop zone. And so we were in a rush, so we had to do 2 jumps in one day, and like we're getting hooked up, and it's super scary. You're kind of jammed in this cargo plane, you stand up in these cargo nets, and then you hook up and static line jumping, and they pull the chute out, you jump out.
Yeah.
But so I'm like, I'm 18, terrified of the world, and jumping out of planes, so I'm kind of afraid of heights. Obviously, I'm getting more comfortable with it as they throw me out of this plane. But then on the 5th jump, you land, in the drop zone, and they immediately like, get rid of your gear, and they separate you, and they take these like silver airborne wings, and they put them on your chest, and they punch them into your skin, and they say, now you're a paratrooper, and like, don't ever let anybody talk down to you, don't ever like this is who you are now.
Yeah.
And like, that's all I needed. And like, I was an introvert, and now I'm an extrovert. Like, I was shy, now I'm cocky, and like, I totally took it on as my persona for years. And that was like a stage of life that lasted a long time. So I volunteered for everything, and I got to Germany with this attitude, and they were like, hey, we need somebody to volunteer to be the fitness person. And so I did that, and that sort of became my kind of brand identity in the Army.
Wow.
And I would help people, help soldiers get into shape to meet the Army standards. And when that wasn't my job, people would just knew that used to be my job. So they would ask me, hey, can you write me a program? You want to work out with me? Can you like help us? We're trying to do this thing. And so that sort of became like a role to play, like it gave me a sense of how to fit in.
Yeah.
So it was very automatic.
I had I've had some similar stuff in the sense that like the role was handed to me and strapped on in the sense that I learned athlete and musician were sort of my two callings when I was younger. Those were the things that I thought I loved the most and had skills in. It was easy for me to do
Those
both
are good
things.
skill, right? Like
and
entertain people.
They seemed
be a
different
monster.
paths for a minute.
Sure.
I was into acting a little bit, but I like dedicated myself growing up to like acting. To athletics and music, and I don't know if I had a coach who was trained in Tim Galloway's Inner Game of Tennis.
Oh, cool.
And that's super weird, from the 70s, super weird mind trick
right?
stuff.
Yeah.
And then evidently, like, that's probably the starting point of the weird stuff I do now for a living.
Ah.
So I got introduced to personal development stuff through dealing with family trauma. The first times in like 12-step programs as like an Alateen and AA and that kind of stuff. And then this Galloway weird, strange psychology is applied to athletics, helping people get out of their own way, let their unconscious mind and their bodies do what it knows how to do, that kind of thing. And that whole time I kept like motivating myself to be a better athlete, and then people kept handing me, you're the captain, go. Or like there was a way in which I was decent at being a leader, but I was sort of a reluctant leader. I would sometimes, even in group projects in school, I would sit next to the most organized person that had a good leader posture, but wasn't like, they were probably introverted, so they didn't think of themselves as a leader, and I would make them the leader of the group, and then as a mascot, I would like do the side stuff. But everybody kept trying to hand me keys, like be a supervisor, be a manager, and I kept like avoiding the keys, but having something that people kept recognizing.
Yeah, you were the Dick Cheney of the operation. Sorry, there's not a positive mastermind person like
on the side.
Controlling puppeteer, right?
Yeah.
We'll think of a benevolent mastermind as we talk, and I'll see if I can't come to it. But yeah, you're the person that like had the actual compass, and then but you're not necessarily the formal role.
I didn't necessarily want the responsibility of the title. Right. I went in and out of it for a very, very long time. Until
it's a sign of a good leader, by the way.
Yeah?
It's common in the on the Army. There was a saying. It was like the person who doesn't want the stripes is the person who needs them. And that's a sense of imposter syndrome. Means that it's a valid role for you. It's an important role for you, and that you'd want to be better to do it, which is why you need to do it.
It's probably
That's good.
I think I was about 25 when it snapped in. That not only could I do it and I had the right skills, that I could trust myself with that amount of responsibility and show up in it. And I was actually curious because I know my path of figuring out, okay, yes, I'm willing to be the leader. I know I can. Because in the other parts, it's like lining up in a room when a leader needs to happen. Yeah. Almost everywhere, all of the time. Leaders need to happen. And I would like try to, if I'm using like a basketball, like a pickup game metaphor, I would just sort of like pretend I couldn't play basketball.
Sure.
That's the version of leader, like hiding. Yeah,
deliberately knowing that something needs to happen and just being sitting on your hands. Yeah, totally.
And then when I did finally say, okay, this is something I'm skilled at, I know what I can do, and I can trust myself to lead, hand me the keys, I'll take care of it. That was like 25 or so. I'm curious if you had a moment where like somebody stamped you as a leader, but when did you pick it for yourself again? Did you have a moment where you like, or did you just stay with that momentum?
I think it's tough. I think that the desire to, there's a satisfaction that comes with like getting 4 people to do the same thing at the same time. Like if you're trying to organize the pickup game, like the one's like, okay, we're starting now. These are the rules, these are the teams.
Yeah.
There's a satisfaction that comes to that. But I think like I had a willingness early on, and the Army makes it really easy. Like, so like, I would say it would be early, but it would be in the sense that, you know, as a young leader, you just do what everybody else is doing, and then you're just accountable. Like, you don't actually have any power.
Yeah.
You're just the person that like someone's going to be the point of contact. So it's like kind of a gateway drug to leadership, is just like kind of getting the crap without getting any, you know, power. Just getting the responsibility first, which I think is actually probably the better way to do it. You know, and then growing up. So I would say like I volunteered early, and I don't think that outside of the military, I don't think I ever had a formal leadership role. The cool part about my world now is if you just like, you can, almost anybody can just make something happen. Like you and I could make a meetup event for today.
Yes.
And we could have a party here today.
Yeah.
If we were just like, hey, we're talking about, you know, leadership stuff and it's Portland and beer. And there'd be 30 people here, like, you know, talk about stuff and drink beer. So it's like, it's easier now to take on a leadership role because you can define, as a, you know, solopreneur or have a small business, you can really define what you want that to be. So I'd say early on with mediocre results, to answer your question.
You said yes to it, and it's been working out.
Right.
I remember bumping into you on one of those magical, sunny, weird, like in the middle of rainstorm, but sunny days. This may have been, so this was after kickball. We've met, we maybe bumped into each other at networking events, but I think I remember the day just down the street here near like Water Avenue Coffee or whatever. We bumped into each other just as you were opening this space.
Yep.
And I remember the story. You were super excited. You looked all shiny. You're talking about like it's fitness and it's coffee.
It's together.
Together.
I was gonna do that. Yes, and still working on the coffee part. Still working on the juice bar part. Yeah. That's good. How naive I was.
That
2.5 years ago. 2 years ago.
Yeah?
Yeah. That was, maybe it was like the month after we opened. But a lot changes when the rubber meets the road.
Yeah.
You kind of led with that. You're trying to, you want to know what's happened since then, or how is that going for me?
I'm not sure. I just love that I really felt so honored to be invited into that moment, your moment then, of here's what's up, here's what's shiny. We just left this building, we're about to go back.
And we're excited. So like in my mind, you know, at the time we had a really great team. We have a really great team here at Training for Warriors. At the time I had some of my best friends. So Emily Corso is working with us. Mike Bionavang down, he runs East Side Strength and Performance right now. Patrick Thomas, who runs Ironside, was there. We were all jazzed on, you know, what we could do with this spot. And like what became clear, speaking of leadership mediocrity, what became clear is I had a vision, but I didn't. It wasn't fleshed out. I mean, and it's still coming together a little bit. But I had a vision, and it didn't have a strong sense of like how everybody would be able to fully support the vision and fully achieve the things that they wanted to achieve.
Yeah.
So it's like not clearly defined roles, and also misreading what people want out of their lives.
Yeah.
Right. And that's pretty much everything.
This sounds like forming a band to me.
Yeah. No, that's a great analogy, and it's very similar to how things went. Like Mike went his way, Patrick went his way. I came here with Emily, you know, like we're totally gonna do this thing, and you know, my project's gonna look like this. And then you get there and you start to like, you know, unroll your sound, and you're like, actually, it's not like that at all. and then Emily started Bold and Badass, and now it's, you know, I was forming Functional Time. So now we're all doing completely different things. It's a completely different story when you actually get there to start executing, and you see what people are good at, what people aren't good at, what you want to do and what you didn't want to do. And a lot of times what you think something is about is not what it's about when you get, you know, on the water. So
Heck yeah.
it's like way different, but in a lot of really good ways. I mean, I think the story has been successful for everybody involved. Like the other bands are still going strong. You know, they're playing great music.
Yeah.
We talk all the time about what we want to do versus what we're doing versus like what we were good at and not good at.
Yeah.
But like I think, you know, and to honor that like that sentiment, like for me that's still the dream. You know, like you just run into a bunch of problems and you're like, okay, so we need power. Okay, we need to restructure power for the entire building. What's that look like? Oh, we need to create like a new link to the transformer. Okay, just $90,000. No big deal. That's all it is.
Yeah.
You know, create or you know, state the problem in solvable terms.
Yeah.
You know, like oh, we need to move some water over there. Just water. Water's everywhere. Right. It's Portland. Like, right? So you just start to like define things and figure out that like, and that's what I think people, whenever you're setting a goal, one of my friends has this great term, hidden work. Mm-hmm. So I'm gonna wake up every morning and I'm gonna have a smoothie. Great. Well, the hidden work is you have to get all the smoothie stuff.
Right.
And you have to have it ready to go. And you have to make sure your blender is actually the grade of blender that you need to blend all that stuff into your desired smoothie.
Right.
And then you need to know how much time it takes, and you have to measure everything out and have to create a new routine. And so it's actually a 17-step process to do step 18, which is drink your smoothie.
Right.
And
People
that's
don't talk about the hidden work as much.
They don't.
Yeah.
They don't. Oh yeah. No. Well, that's really most of the work.
It's life. It's
Yeah.
the hidden work. Oh, I have to eat again.
New decisions.
I forgot to grocery shop.
Damn it.
And my
Every
knife isn't
sneaks
sharp.
up on me every time.
Yeah.
Right, and my knife isn't sharp.
Yeah.
My
All the
roommate
extra
didn't
bits.
clean the dishes, and now I have to do the dishes and then do the food.
So okay, so you were saying earlier, many of your very supportive, highly trained and positive attitude friends
Yep.
that are quite physical and in different levels of fitness keep showing up to you like wondering, okay,
How's
how
that
is this business thing going? It's
Yeah.
been 2 years or so
Yep.
in this space,
Yeah.
and
How's that business thing going?
I guess that's
Yeah.
the question. I'm sure
It's
like
going great. I mean, like, so we've been doing training for warriors. We've been running the program the way it's designed to be run. It's a group program, and it can be scaled to anything. But it's at its heart, TFW is a group program. So we've got 5 classes a day, 20 classes a week. So I guess there's some days where there are not 5 classes, huh? But so we've got, I think there's 22 classes a week.
Yeah.
So we're making money. The model, or I think like the thing that we've discovered is like, what are the variables that matter, that change the user experience, that change the experience for our students and clients. So we're figuring out, we did the hidden work. Like now we're at like, okay, now we have a good product.
Yeah.
And it's fun. And I think that the key is, you know that you're on the right track is if you enjoy doing that work. So for me, like the sets and reps and the variables aren't as fun as telling stories and connecting with people. Mm-hmm. I do run a business. I don't love to do the accounting piece and the back end work as much. So I try to outsource as much of that as possible, but I also have to get good at that too and understand what it is. So, I'm running a business now. I don't think I could have said that 2 years ago.
Right.
Or maybe even a year ago, for sure.
Well, it's essentially you probably just sort of jumped in. Here's the thing. A lot of people, if they're coaches or personal development, like people get into it because there's something that they love that's a service. They love to help people with this thing. And then it turns out that you're like, oh, I can do that for a living. I can do this thing I'm great at for money.
Yeah.
Cool. But then it turns out you actually have to have a business and a business model, and people don't usually go into business because they like business building, right?
Right.
They like the service they provide, or they like the product they want people to have, or any of that sort of thing. And then there's all this extra stuff that you discover along the way.
It's not extra stuff though. It seems
it's
like
essential
extra
stuff.
It's essential stuff, but that's the way I looked at it, right?
Oh, yeah?
And that makes it more work. It is more work, but like all that stuff I'm not good at. I was just talking about, but it serves to make your work better because all those things you just said, they're in alignment with creating that great experience and service that you have. But when I was a young practitioner, I didn't understand that. I didn't understand how the structure of the business and how the way that you segment your products and all that stuff actually helps people more if you do it well.
Right.
And that's a super recent discovery for me. But that had changed the game, and now I'm more inspired. I'm not saying I love it, but I'm more inspired to work on it because I understand how it actually creates a better outcome for people.
Definitely.
So
that reminds me of the people who say that everything is a marketing decision.
Yeah.
How you choose your accounting, how you choose the people you work with, what your email templates, all of those things do structure and support somebody getting results. So if somebody has a better mindset about how they show up to like personal development or life shifts, you're setting things up so that all you have to do is walk into the room and say, okay, you want your life to be here, but it's here. You ready? Change.
Yes. Right.
It's done.
Yeah.
And hopefully your business systems can help people get there.
Totally. Yeah. And that sounds magical, but like it can be that simple. Not necessarily easy, but simple. If you're doing it right.
Nice.
Which the jury's still out on whether or not I'm doing it right. But it's okay. To like sales. It's okay to like marketing. It's okay to like connecting with other people. And you could frame it as like everything's a marketing decision. And if that helps, I think that's good.
Well, I don't mind framing it like that because I actually like marketing.
Yeah.
So a lot of people think that sales and marketing are dirty words they're not supposed to say out loud, and it makes them. It's like saying moist.
Sure. Moist. Oh, yeah, no, which is a trigger word for like people like, I don't like that word.
Yeah. So,
what?
So what if moist was the thing that got you spectacular results? Part of the thing that you love. What if? Yeah.
I only want moist cake. I'm not gonna have dry cake.
Right.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, and that's a good way to frame it. I like that you did pair it up with something that people are often reticent to engage in, like marketing. But it's like you come full circle on it. You're just like, I hate marketing, but I actually do love it that Amazon tells me what book to buy.
Yeah.
Like it's like because like I got some really good books from that. And so it's like you like the marketing that works, that's well educated and connected.
That is the thing.
Yeah.
When people, I don't like sales, I don't like marketing. No. You don't like shitty sales and bad marketing.
You don't like somebody knocking on your door that you don't know, that you don't care about, they want you to help them, not the other way around.
Totally.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, externally, because we see each other in Facebook and Instagram land, I'm loving the way that you're putting yourself out and doing videos for people. I get to see those, and those are fun.
Oh, yeah.
Externally, like spying on your life. It seems as though you were able to have like beautiful lifestyle shifts.
Sure.
That said, hey, life's good. Like sometimes when people are like starting a business, they have no social life.
Totally.
They have no like support system, and it seems like that stuff's going well in your world.
Yeah, that's that's a choice, by the way. That's a choice. Like, I get stuck in the grind and thinking that it's meritorious to suffer. And I had an epiphany earlier this year. I went to a summit and it was really fun. You get around a bunch of positive people that you like. It was a Training for Warriors thing. And it's like, I want to do whatever I have to do to get around good people. And it's like, actually, I know a lot of good people. And actually, they're doing stuff all the time. It's just a choice of whether or not I want to like get out of my comfort zone. We have stories like, I'm too tired, I don't have enough money, like people won't like me, so being social is hard. And that's this thing people say all the time, like it's hard. Just show up. You know who's excited that you came to their birthday party? Everyone. Yeah. Everyone's excited.
Yes.
That you showed up for them. And just like deciding to be present. I think that if you can make one choice, that's a huge choice to make. And then so I just decided like I'm just gonna do the thing I wanted to do, and it's okay if it's hard or uncomfortable or expensive or whatever. I'll just deal with it. And that's like has made all the difference. But it's a continual choice. It's like being uncomfortable is a habit, and being comfortable is a habit. So you got to continually do the uncomfortable thing, which actually makes you happier. But you probably talk about that too.
I sometimes talk about that. My friend, I went to where did we talk about this? She said the most brilliant thing. I think we were collecting footage from a friend's concert, and another friend that I know through acting. We were talking about getting out of your comfort zone, and she said, it's just, I want this on a t-shirt. She said the best way to get out of a comfort zone is to not have one.
Boom.
We were in a loud club, and it just like shook the rafters. I'm like, man.
Could you do that though?
I'm curious about that. I had the realization, if we're talking about comfort zones, like as a person working towards goals and wanting to live just a supple and amazing joy-filled life, those are what my goals are right now. There's this point
Good
where
goals.
when you're leading other people, they talk about it's important to also have a coach or also have mentors.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I realized that is also true, and I think one of the things that helps me help other people get results is to be pressing up against my own edges somewhere in my life so that I can stay, I don't have to be where they are on the path. It helps to be further down the path for the people that you're helping in what they're wanting results in. And I realized like, oh, in the times when I wasn't getting great results with my clients, it's because I wasn't putting myself in a position where I was also a student or also a client or also moving and shifting and pushing up my edges, because it meant that a different metaphor was talking about, I was interested in tango. And this man came up to me and asked if I could dance. I did not have the right shoes. I was just witnessing tango to see if it was something I was ready to do. And he said that when he learned tango, as a man, they're told to learn to follow first because it makes you a good leader.
Yep.
So when we talk about this comfort zone and these edges and that sort of thing, one of the things that I am curious about, I don't actually have an answer for you about that, but I did recognize that in the moments when I wasn't getting easy results, I could still get results with clients, but easy and powerful shifts for my clients were the times in my life where I was staying safe. I was staying cozy, and I wasn't pushing myself in some area of my life of either being a client or being a student or trying something new and moving and stretching any of my kinds of muscles. Like there's a process to build muscle and build strength and that sort of thing.
Yeah. Well, the I don't understand, because you're a curious person. You like a lot of different things. We know that. You have a wide variety of interests. I'm fascinated. Like, I don't know if it's having high standards or whatever, but like, there's a lot of I don't know. Like, there's just a lot, and I find it really difficult to not be a perpetual student.
Right.
So like, reading is a way that it calms me down, and like, if I'm being honest with myself, there's a lot left on the table in terms of my life and what I want. So luckily it's a habit to be constantly like in the pocket of a mentor or a process to change the way that I'm thinking about something. And if you read a lot of books, and there's a lot of well-read people in our friend group, they all start to say the same thing, in veins. Yeah. And I like that. I like the comfort of the repetition. I like connecting the dots and making everything make sense. And you always learn new verbiage, and like that, like you were just saying, be a student. The thing that makes me better at what I do in the gym is like finding the right language for the right person. So I may have told you the same thing 100 times, but if I just change my tonality and the verbiage that I use every time, it will make sense one of those times. I don't know which one, right? But it's going to land. Yeah. And when that connection is made, like, you're going to change, and then our coaching relationship changes too. Heck yeah. And but you're going to get that if you're getting that coaching from other people, so you can borrow more tool sets, more verbiage, more assets that you have to share.
Heck yeah.
There you go.
I love it.
Bam.
Yeah. And what I was going to say, what popped into my head just now is there's the things that you've studied. Now, I'm not saying you haven't studied these things. So the training that I went deep into is language and communication. So music and acting has a physicality, the tonality, the language in that sense. And then I went into sales and marketing, which is also about communication. Yeah. And then I did some work in psychology and sociology and studying there. Then I went into learning hypnosis and neuro-linguistic programming, which is specifically about how to communicate. And so when you were saying knowing the right thing and the tonality to say, I was just having this image of you're specifically trained in which specific physical shifts someone can make to get the results they want. You can like watch somebody's body and figure it out, and then give them the shift that makes the difference, right? And I'm trained in the shift that makes the difference in language. So I'm just going to say that those are easy skill sets and tools to find.
And it's one, and like, I love that you brought that up, because then you said like language and the theater and all the things that you put together from that. It's essentially the same. Everything is one thing, right? Like those are the different set of variables and interventions for the same stuff.
Yeah.
And that makes it more valuable. Like every time you do another class or another course, right? It makes it easier to connect the dots. That's cool. NLP's dense. Have you tried to read NLP? NLP's dense.
Don't read NLP. That is not the best way to learn.
That's take that. That's the black belt. Start with the white belt. Read something easy. I don't know what the easy version of that is, but.
My suggestion in all things is, so all changes essentially that actually work have to be emotionally significant. And so if you're going to learn something to heighten the state, the emotional state you're in, like if you're going to change anybody's mind, it has to become emotionally significant. If you're going to change a habit, it has to become emotionally significant. There's something, you attach an emotion to something.
Totally.
So the easiest way to learn something new is to do an experiential process, to drop yourself in the middle. That's why they say like you should go into an immersion program to learn another language. Go to the country and do that. So if you were going to learn something like NLP and hypnosis, I think the easiest way to do it is to go to a seminar that's a few days long and like put yourself and your body in there in a place where they are trained to give you a heightened experience so the learning goes quickly. Like a book is not the greatest way to be introduced to something that can be that particular.
Right. No, that's so on it. I mean, it's so cliche. In our industry, my industry, it said that everybody says learning is in the body. It's not in the mind. But it's so true with that too. It sounds like it's the same thing. Like you said, experiential, emotional. And that's a big thing too about coaches, like in the fitness industry, not having coaches on their own, of their own. Because if you're not getting evaluated and feeling those subtle changes, and when those things shift for you, and learning new stuff and new techniques, it doesn't, it's not going to be as real for you when you go to teach it to somebody else, even if you read it in a book.
Yeah. Well, I want to be mindful of your time.
Sure.
And the play.
Thanks.
And I'm feeling my blood sugar, and I'm feeling like rapport with maybe your blood sugar and whether you need to stretch. And so I'm loving that you are willing to play, and I'm curious, like maybe if there's one last question, like what's the next hill you want to climb? What are you working on?
So
what are you excited about?
Like my life has been really unstable. So everything I'm doing right now is to try and to cut to the chase, is to be living the life I always wanted to live, and just do it now while I have it, whatever that means. And so my next hill is, taking where I'm at in my life and going deeper with it. Nice. So I don't live very far from the gym. I like walking to work. I love the work with people. Fitness is my drug because I'm still really enthusiastic about changing my body and my life like that. So for me, it's taking Training for Warriors and going from 60 members to 160, and that's going to take years, and that's fine, and that's cool. And along the way, having a great work environment for coaches and our staff to develop as people, and to build better relationships. And I go back to that stability piece because I'm looking for depth, not width right now, because even though I'm a curious person, I really like having great relationships with the students here, the mentoring, I use that word very carefully with my coaches, teaching them and the staff how to deliver great development to the students. It's all important to me. So just doing more of what I've got, and 10xing that, if you will. But for me, that the value is in getting better at my own craft and process, and going from feeling good about it to feeling really great about it and confident.
Nice, love it.
Easy.
Well, I'm around if you need any help with that.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, it's good. It's good to know the best, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. One of my favorite things about saying yes to the entrepreneurship adventure, which it looks like it's a solo adventure.
Right.
No adventure is a solo adventure. No, there's no such thing as a self-made man or woman or other such.
You make the decisions. And you have a lot of help.
Yeah, you're the one that says yes to your adventure, and there are a lot of helpers along the path. And I love being in your community and being able to, like, you know, whether we're hanging out or saying hello or what, I'm a fan of yours. I'm cheering you on from wherever. And I think it's interesting the way that, like, as people are connected and we shift, I imagine that as you make shifts, I'll accidentally feel some of them too. Just, you know?
Yeah, no, I know.
I think there are esoteric philosophies and quantum physics that are going to prove that, but it feels like it.
There's some math in there.
When people in your community make shifts and make strides and have successes and triumphs, and even the trials and fall on their faces, we all feel it, and we shared learnings.
Yeah, well, I totally agree with you, which is why I always root for your success too, so I can feel the vibes.
Vibes over here. Right on.
Vibe it my way.
Right on. Okay, well, thank you for that. I don't have a fancy way of wrapping up. Water drinking?
Gratitude. Thank you for putting this together and having a conversation we should have had like a year ago.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
But it's awesome to do it now.
Thank you for saying yes and being here. Thank you, CJ, for being CJ over there.
Thanks for watching.
Well, that's how that went. Thanks for joining us on this episode. Thanks for watching, listening, I don't know, reading, imbibing, however you took this in. Thanks for being here. And if you really enjoyed it, I'd love it if you would do all of the things. Like, share, I don't know, ring a bell, bang a gong, tell a friend, and come back next time. I hope you had as much fun as I did.